Hello FFL agents. Today we're going to be doing a quick condensed demo of how our platform works and how you can best use it whether you're selling in person or over the phone or even via Zoom. So what we're going to do first is head over to the account tab. So if you are selling over the phone, make sure that you turn the telesales toggle on. Additionally, even if you are on an iPad and you're selling over the phone, make sure you use the website version of the software. We do offer a mobile app for both iPhone and Android. However, that is designed to be just used on the phone. Even though you can download it on the iPad, please use the website on your iPad, preferably in landscape mode, and that'll work best. So we're going to head back over to Fex. We'll spend most of our time here. So real quick, when you go into settings, you can customize the carriers you do and don't want to show here. This is your light link, so if you want to share it around, like if you want to bookmark this on your phone, if you don't want to use the app, it's a quick way to run a quote without putting in any underwriting. You can even send it to a client if you really want to do that. This is if you have a website, you can put it on your site and you can generate TCPA compliant leads that get delivered securely to your Insurance Toolkits platform. But we're going to go over to the quoter here and we're just going to run some basic conditions. So the way that we designed the platform was actually around the process of both the telesale and the in-home sale. So what we're going to do, we're just going to type in age 55, we'll say Texas male, and I'm going to put in a health condition. So let's say this person has COPD. Put in COPD. So date of last treatment, they take their inhaler every day, we'll say no. To this question, so no nebulizer. Do they take 3 or more medications for any lung or respiratory disorder? We'll say yes. 99% of people with COPD do. And we hit get quote. So you can see all of our options come up here in order of, we sort it in buckets, so we'll always show you day 1 coverage options first. So you can see Moo graded here is $46.89. That's cheaper than both Ascendo Standard and Planrite Standard, but because these are day 1 coverage, that's how our system shows things. So just so you're aware of that. If a carrier is in any way showing a option that is not preferred or its best available option, we'll show you the Y button. So it'll tell you why something is showing the way it's showing. Especially if you're doing sales non-face-to-face, it's important to be able to pivot quickly. So this can help you understand why we're showing something we're showing, especially if it's something that you don't necessarily understand. And I'll show a good example of that up above in just a second. Now, if it's a carrier like Prime Term to 100 where they're, it's approved to climb, we're not going to show the Y button unless it's excluded or denied, will be declined. If there's a potential commission cut for a product, we'll show you that with the green money sign, so make sure you look out for that. Of course, every contract is different, but we just keep it there so that you can be aware. And then if a plan is graded or modified, we'll actually show you the plan info tab here. So some of these plans can be confusing, as you can see here with Prosperity. Sometimes graded doesn't really mean graded. You can see graded here is 30, 70, 100. But then graded for Moo is ROP, it's a modified plan, ROP plus 10% first 2 years. So when you're selling a plan to a client, you want to make sure that you're talking about the right thing, especially for something like this where it can vary depending on the state you're in. We do have Lincoln in the software just so you can do it easy. You can see how much you can crush the rate with someone who might have Lincoln, and it just helps to validate that sale a lot of the time. So we do have them in there if you want to see it. And then if a carrier is excluded, we'll tell you why. So in this case, someone's 55, they're not going to qualify for Children's Whole Life anyway, but, Real Neighbors, for example, COPD would otherwise go graded if treated within 2 years, but because of COVID currently, today is August 31st, graded is not available in Texas and in most states because of COVID, so that's not showing. And again, it really just helps you understand why things show. So you can see Americo here, so it would go guaranteed because of the COPD, but the commission cut is something like 88%, so we actually exclude this guaranteed outright in the software here. So we'll just modify this case a little bit. So we'll put in cigarette smoker, and let's put in insulin. So let's type in insulin. You don't necessarily need to know the brand. We'll just type in insulin here. So no complications. We'll say this person's 55. We'll say the first fill is 2017, and no one controlled, and we'll hit get quote. So a few things to note here. If we go to Transamerica, you can see that there's they question numbering system. So this is why it's important, even if it's a condition that you don't think is a big deal, put it in the software because it can catch things that you might not necessarily see. Because Transamerica, if you just put this in a group chat, someone has COPD, someone has insulin, those are standard with Transamerica, those will be approved. When in reality, that's 2 yes answers in the standard section, which will push it graded. So it's always a good idea if you have every possible condition medication, just put them in the toolkit. It can often catch things that you think it might not. And the star here indicates carriers with true Social Security billing as well. Another question we get asked is, well, if I know the health condition and I know the medication, do I have to put in both, or can I just put in one or the other? So the answer to that is, if you have the medication works best. So if I run this quote here, you can see I put in spironolactone for high blood pressure. Certain carriers, and we have certain warnings in the system based on our data points, so spironolactone for Ascendo may trigger a referral to an underwriter for further review, because that's a medication that, as you saw above, can be used for a number of things. Now, if this client told me, oh, I just have high blood pressure, no big deal, and you didn't put in the medication, that can change the way that the software reads things. Additionally, there's different kinds of combinations that you might not think of, things that the carriers have told us that we put in the software on the back end. So Coreg and spironolactone, does this person maybe have high blood pressure? Yeah, they probably do, but there's a pretty good chance they have a heart issue as well. So we have these auto-added conditions too that can get added when you add multiple conditions or drugs. It's to try to help you catch things before you submit something to underwriting. Gabapentin and metformin is another good example. So it's always a good idea. Rule number one, the drugs work best. So for example, if they didn't know what their inhaler was for their COPD, it's fine, you can put in the health condition, but generally the drug is best if you know that, and if you know the drug, it automatically ties to the health condition, so you don't need to worry about putting it in twice. And then if you do those things, the software will help you catch things that, again, you might not otherwise be able to do on your own. And we will do one other condition here. So if I'm going to type in, let's say this person had cancer a while ago. So I type in cancer. And we call our underwriting system a reverse funnel. So we always show you as few options as we can at the beginning. So these top three you won't use too much. So current and past cancer are the main two. We'll say past. It'll ask you the type. Certain carriers like Transamerica will care about the type, so we'll say other. Let's say this guy had prostate cancer. And let's say the day of last treatment was 2017, so quite a while ago, and they were diagnosed in 2016. So they had cancer for about a year, but it's been fully gone for about 5 years. Have they had cancer more than once? We'll say no. And just as an example to see how our system works intelligently, if I answer this question yes, it'll ask me the logical follow-up question, have they had recurrent cancer of the same type? Because Mutual of Omaha and some other carriers care about that. So it's very important when you get to these follow-up questions that you answer them accurately, because they're all based on the carriers that you have selected and are trying to underwrite. So we ask every relevant question at the point of putting in the condition. So we'll say no to metastatic. So now we have all of our health profiles here, and we'll hit get quote. So now we come up with our carrier. So this is a pretty tough case, to be honest, with the carriers that I have turned on in the system. But in this case, if I want to get paid full comp, let's say in this case, maybe make it a little bit more appealing. We'll run this in Pennsylvania. So this is actually a true graded product in Pennsylvania, Arkansas, Kansas, and Nevada. But it's 30, 60, 100. So in this case, if you can justify the cost over AIG, you'll actually get paid full comp. Client gets true graded. UHL EIWL is one of the better use cases in this instance. And then if a carrier is excluded, you can see why they're excluded. CHF and COPD are going to kick a lot of them off. But that's essentially how you underwrite the case. Now, you can notice up here that I did not put in a face amount or premium. Now, that's by design. And the reasoning is, money doesn't buy life insurance, your health does. So what we want to do first, whether you're selling in person or over the phone, is don't build your presentation around a certain dollar amount or $35,000, because for all you know, they qualify for one product that barely fits within their budget for half the amount of coverage that they want. So you want to build the coverage around, okay, let's get you qualified for, show you what you're, I use the word pre-approved, and then we can finish up and close up the sale. So just so you're aware, when you don't put in a face amount or premium, the system will automatically run it at 10,000, so every carrier is automatically available. Term will auto run at 100,000, so everything will show when you don't put one, in a face amount or premium. So next step is we're going to hit compare. Head over to our quote compare tool. We're going to pop in 10, 15, 20. See, all the other information is pushed over here. We compare, and we have our three options. So if I'm doing a telesale, I've already done the underwriting, I've identified the carrier, I probably talk about the carrier briefly while I'm doing this, and then when I'm ready to get the three quotes, okay, are you ready? Here are your three pre-qualified options. If I'm sitting face-to-face, I'm turning my screen around and saying, we just ran you through, this is what you're pre-approved for. It makes it feel a lot more official to them Because most agents, they're just talking about different companies and premiums, but you just ran them through the system. You asked them very detailed questions about their health that were relevant to the carriers you had selected. You went over the parameters of the plan that you're talking about, and now you have their 3 pre-qualified or pre-approved options, which makes it a lot easier for you to then close down that sale because you've already done the work, you've shopped around, and if they can make it work, they will. So you're sitting in front of this client, okay, Mr. Jones, here's, option the bronze option, the silver option, the gold option, which works best for you. Do you want something high or low or something in between? And you know how to close down the sale. After this, of course, if you have an e-app available, you'd head over to that and you'd finish up the app. So that is essentially the process of the sale. Now the quoter does auto-save, so if I have to come back later, I can do so. There's 2 options if you want to save a quote for later. You can hit the save button here. This will save the file in an unreadable extension. If you want to load it back in, you have to click load, and it's in the downloads, and you have to load it back in like that. It's a little bit cumbersome. So the easier way to do it, let's say I closed this client, got him approved, and that's another thing I forgot to mention. If there is an accidental available, none of them will be on here. If you hit the expand arrow here, we'll show like accidental 10 pay in the little menu here. But let's push this over to the CRM. We'll say it's John Jones. We'll leave everything else blank, and we'll hit save. So that pushes over to the CRM. Now we do not want you to use our CRM as, if you have high level, radius bob, whatever you use, your IMO provides one, just use that. The only reason that we provide this very bare bones CRM here is for the HIPAA compliant storage of your client's medications and health conditions. So nobody can see what's in your CRM besides you, not your upline, not us. And it's as easy as, and I'll just do it one more time for emphasis, go to the CRM, hit clients at the top left. Here's the client we just pushed over, John Jones. You can see I'm not very creative with the last names. We hit expand. If I want to load him back in, because again, if you're not following up with your book of business, somebody else is, and there's no easier person to sell to than someone you've already sold. So it makes it very easy. If you're calling in 30 days, he got his policy, 6 months, a year, whenever it is, we're right back where we left off. So you can load him back in. You can assign a disposition, a custom one if you want. It can change the color on it. So this is, again, it's just a very basic, bare-bones CRM and the main purpose is it stores the health conditions and medications so that if a case gets referred, if you're coming back to sell them more insurance later on, you can very quickly reference their medical profile. So that's why we offer the CRM. Again, there's no dialer. It's not fancy. Our focus is on the quoting and underwriting tool. This is just really for effective storage, and you can download and upload files into the CRM for ease of use if you have another solution. Last thing I'm going to show is our ancillary tools. So if you have a drug, just maybe 1 or 2 drugs you want to look up, you can do so pretty easily with the drug lookup tool. If you don't want to run a full quote, sometimes this is faster for people. So if I just want to look up like Spiriva in the state of Texas for a 55-year-old male, this is what's available and why. The health cheat sheet. Health cheat sheet is a always up-to-date, very complete version of what those massive Excel files that people share around now. But for example, the reason ours works well is it's always up-to-date, number 1. Number 2, it always shows every company that is in the system, and it'll show all the backup questions. So Americo, if they've had cancer more than once, decline. If they've ever had metastatic, decline. So it gives you all the possible information that a lot of cheat sheets leave out. Another good example is for AFib here, for Moo, within 2 years graded, but if they have a heart condition diagnosed within a year, it's a decline. So we give you every possible piece of information that we can on the cheat sheet. So if you want to use that, you can do so. For term, we do have the major simplified term products in here. I'm not going to go into this in too much depth because it's the same design as the final expense toolkit, but only main difference is you can select the term length here. You can run ROP, of course, if you want to do so. And if they have living benefits on the product, Americo is one of the only ones that offers it for ROP. It'll show here. Then if there's any notification, we'll show it to you there. So term toolkit, essentially the same thing as FEX toolkit. So if you have any questions while using the software, you can feel free to contact us directly on our chatbot here. You can also send us an email, contact@fextoolkit.com. Make sure to confer with your upline, and if you do choose to sign up, make sure you use the code FFL15, which is found in the description of this video and in this course itself, to make sure you get that 15% off. Thanks for watching.